Welcome to the Capital Gains Tax Solutions Podcast, also streaming on Expert CRE Secrets Podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy, such as the Deferred Sales Trust, is the best way for you to exit your highly appreciated real estate or other highly appreciated asset. I'm your host, Brett Swarts. In each episode, I am joined by some of the best real estate, financial, wealth, and business minds in the world, where they share their ideas, deal stories, and inspiration. So together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. I'm excited about our next guest. He's out of the great state of New Jersey. He's a devoted full-time father, husband, and family man who places Jesus above all else. And he's a lifelong martial artist, martial arts instructor, and multiple black belts in Taekwondo and Hapkido, I believe. And he also is focused on real estate investing and property management, as well as consulting with finance with all things kind of real estate. So please welcome to the show with me, George Boley Jr. George, how are you doing today?
Hey, Brett. Thanks for having me.
Excited to have you on the show. And for our listeners getting to know you for the first time, would you give us a little bit more about your story and your current focus?
Yes, absolutely. You hit a lot of it there in my bio, but like you said, I am a real estate investor, martial arts instructor, martial artist. I'm still training. I'm still teaching, still investing in real estate. I'm also an author. I authored about 4 books. So you can find them in the Amazon store. My bestseller right now is Property Management Basics for the Part-Time Landlord. But I also have a book out about how to use your credit rating to become your own hard money lender. So you can check that out at my website at georgeboleyjr.com for more information.
Excellent. And for, I believe we've all been given certain gifts in this life, George, and I like to maybe take our listeners back to the earlier days. Maybe it was high school days, maybe university days. And, some people believe they're strengths. Some people believe these are, superpowers. I believe they're God-given gifts. I believe these gifts have been given to us to be a blessing and help to others. So I'm curious, what are those 1 or 2 gifts that you believe you were given, and how does that help how you help and bless people today?
Well, it's paying it forward. The gifts that I was giving is to care enough to be able to give back. I'm passionate about giving. I'm passionate about helping. Real estate wasn't my first destination. It just happened to be my last destination. And I had help along the way. Were there blood, sweat, and tears? Yeah, absolutely. I lost a lot of money learning. When I started, Quora and Reddit wasn't a thing. So I had to figure this out by myself. But there were people that cared enough about what I was doing to help. And so because they were able to help me, whenever I feel like I can help somebody, I help them, whether there's money involved or there's not, because as you pay it forward, that comes back to you in some form or some fashion. That person that you help get them out of a solution right now, 5 years from now, can bring you a deal that could, take you on another path or change your life. So I honestly believe in helping people. I know I say I'm a coach, but honestly, a lot of the information I give out, more than 50% of it is free. I probably get about 5 to 10 real estate calls a week. And I don't mind sharing that information because honestly, nobody knows what it's like when you're in a real estate situation, whether you have a bad tenant or you're dealing with a contractor. That is the most important thing that you're dealing with. And I've lost hours and hours and hours of sleep trying to figure out that situation. And, I just don't like seeing people put in that situation when the answer is so easy. You know what I mean? So
absolutely. Really exactly. I love it. So helping people out, giving back, and paying it forward. I love that as the gift, and I love that as your focus. By the way, you can learn more about George Boley Jr. at georgeboleyjr.com. So let's dive right into what you're seeing right now in real estate, and what part of it could be finance focused, it could be property management focused. But what is the biggest secret right now that you're finding for what you provide to help others? What's that one thing that if people just knew this, they'd be able to move forward in their investments with real estate, property management? What's that thing that you're focused on right now?
Well, it's twofold, not really one question. So I'll give you both answers. One, the biggest thing that we're seeing right now is this moratorium. A lot of questions that I'm getting about the moratorium is, how are we going to survive? So in other words, you have to transition. That's important in another two phases because um, real estate investors that are looking for properties to buy really don't want to buy a property that has quote unquote a problem tenant or a tenant that is there that hasn't paid their rent in 12 months. You know, the CDC was supposed to void this moratorium December 31st, 2020, but the new administration extended it till September 2021. So if you're buying a property or looking to buy a property that has a tenant in it that hasn't paid rent, potentially you're buying a headache because you can't remove them for 18 months. So that's the first thing really that we're seeing on the residential side from 1 to 4 family, and also on the commercial side, because that affects your rentability when you're asking a question about rent usage. If it's 60%,
Yeah, that's really big. So
90%.
18 months. So essentially, if you buy a property today, and let's imagine the tenant stops paying tomorrow, right? Then potentially 18 months from now is the first time you can evict or move them out. Is that a fair summary, George?
That's a fair summary. But you know, the issue is the government has sent some money out, but they did it in two phases. This is the second piece of that problem when it comes to money.
Mm-hmm.
They invested $25 billion into this. All right. Now it's supposed to be for renters and it's supposed to be for landlords.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't given the guidelines yet as to one, what's the application process? Two, how long is it going to last? You see what I mean? And before you get it. So if I put my application in today, will I get it tomorrow, 30 days, 40 days, 60 days from now? Those are the two things. Second thing is they allocated 25 billion for this, but the real number that they need to bring the entire real estate market whole is about 70 to 75 billion. So you're 50 billion short. Also in that, they're only giving up to 80%. So 80% of the renters can get that. They have to pay the 20%, but we don't know how much they're lending to the landlords and the owners. You see what I mean? I'm not sure if it's 80% or not because we don't know the guidelines. So there's that pump that's there, but nobody knows how that's going to work. And still you're spending money every month, whether you have income coming in or you don't.
Yeah, a lot of uncertainty there and a lot of moving parts. It's hard to be an investor, I would say, especially in a marketplace where prices are so highly appreciated and low inventory. And I think we're, it feels like the peak. It's felt like the peak for even before the pandemic. It felt like the peak, and it's only gotten even more appreciated, right? So, so let's talk about the importance of liquidity, diversification, and being out of debt right now, George. What's your thoughts on, being a seller, and how would liquidity diversification help you to lower your risk?
Well, it's simple. When you have money on hand, you can move a little bit faster. Okay. There's a lot of things going in the real estate market where everybody now is sending out marketing material. Oh, we can buy your house cash. No, they can't. They have a lender standing behind them that will guarantee maybe they can close in 7 to 10, maybe 14 days, but it's not cash. A cash deal is if I walk into a piece of property that I like, I make an offer and tell him, I can have you a certified check or a wire transfer in 24 to 48 hours. That's where you want to be right now in this particular market. Because if you have liquidity or leverage that you can move within that time frame, most likely you will get the deals. The time is now. During COVID, we saw late mortgage payments increase to 37%. Could be higher by now, but that's an indicator for us because the last time we saw that was when the housing market crashed in 2007. So there's a push and there's something coming down the road. You just have to be financially ready right now to be able to pick and choose some of the best deals for you in that particular time. So understanding your capital stack or putting a capital stack in place is definitely going to help you in this particular time while you're moving.
Yeah, I could agree more, and it's really fascinating to kind of compare and contrast the '08 crash to potentially what could happen. And it's been a lot of, I feel like everyone holds their breath and they say, we have another 6 to 12 months. And then they hold their breath, get a little nervous, and another 6 to 12 months. So at one point we're going to be holding our breath and it's going to happen. And I mean, that's my thought. At least that's my feeling. Now, my thoughts sometimes go, well, the economy looks pretty strong, and the fundamentals look pretty good, and inflation looks like it's not going where it could go. And so that's the part where I get concerned. But all that being said, if you have great credit or access to great debt, and you have liquidity, right, and you're in the position to come and buy deals at a discount. Is that a fair summary, George?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's exactly what I did. That's my strategy.
Hmm.
You know, the reason why I wrote my book about how to use your credit rating to become your own hard money lender is because that's exactly what I did. Short story, for about 10 years, I was looking for monies to be able to get into my real estate deals and what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do them. And I had been walking around in circles, and I met a gentleman who used to be an underwriter, but he was in the business for about 30 years before he got sick and he had to retire. He looked at my profile and he said, George, you are 99% of the way there. Your issue and your problem is you don't know that 1%. Okay. By the time we got done and he helped me out and set up my profile effectively so lenders could see me efficiently and everything of that nature, by June, July, we put the application in. By September 2019, I had my first $1 million line of credit. Okay. That means now instead of me doing one deal at a time, I can start picking up 4 deals at a time. 2020 was supposed to be my year, but COVID put the brakes on it. I had 4 deals on deck in February, March 2020. By April, I lost all 4 deals due to COVID. I'm not saying that because that's a bad thing. I'm saying that because there's a silver lining there. COVID helped me get a lot of things off my plate. It helped me catch my breath. It helped me refocus and realign to set the next type of goals for the next 3, 4, 5, 10 years. In that process, it also helped me complete all those books that I've been having in my mind to write. So that's the good thing about it. Second good thing about it is I already know how to get the leverage. I already got my first $1 million line of credit. If I can get $1 million line of credit, I can get $2 million line of credit. You see what I mean? So I'm not stuck where I was, where I have to wait 10 years to figure this out. I can do it now. You see what I mean? And move forward more aggressively than my competitors and what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You're positioning yourself because you've already been there to do it again. When and strike when the iron's hot. I love that. That's fantastic. And so, by the way, what was that 1%? What was that 1% that you were missing that you said that helped to adjust the profile?
Thank you. I learned wrong. I was taught wrong about finances. I can't blame my mother, my grandmother, and my father. They just don't know what they didn't know. But I was always taught to just pay your bills. Just make sure you don't miss a payment. So for a majority of my adult life, I'm 47, I've never missed a payment in my life. You see what I mean? But what I didn't understand was how the credit industry works. Okay. So while I was doing deals, if I was using leverage, if I was using credit cards to pay for equipment, pay for materials and things of that nature, I would max it up to 90, 95%. Then when the monies came, I would obviously pay it off. Well, if you have 3 or 4 credit cards and they're all at 90, 95%, you don't look good to lenders, regardless of what you're doing. Because sometimes your real estate deals can be 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, depending on the project, it could be 12 months. So just imagine looking at a lender coming to you for money and he's already maxed out 3 credit cards, whatever that interest rate is, at 95%. Of course, you're going to get rejected, And so I had to understand how the credit industry worked, how businesses and lenders put things on your credit report, how to negotiate, how to get things off your credit report. I had to learn that whole entire process to make sure that my profile, no matter what lender I was talking to, was in the green, where they were like, oh, he's solid, he's this, he's that, because when my friend came back to me, he was like, George, you know how many people I've met in 30 years with a credit score over 800? I said, no, sir. He said, you're the 5th person. He said, there's no possible way that you should be in this particular predicament that you're in. You just don't understand. So once I did that, and once I cleared all that up, like I said, June or July, and I understood that and started the process, boom, by September, I got my first line.
That's fantastic. And you can learn more about George Boley Jr. at georgeboleyjr.com. So George, is this something that you help people do too? So maybe you help them with buying properties, selling properties, and if you're a broker and help them with their credit, is it something that you do, George?
I coach. I am not a broker. I'm an investor. I'm not licensed in any form or fashion. I just share my experience and just give them tips. And the reason why I do that is because I feel like if I can help somebody else shave a couple years off their life and their journey,
Yeah.
you know, I would definitely do that. And like I said, it pays it back and it pays it forward, because when they get in a situation, this is key. When they get in a situation, they come right back to you.
Mm-hmm.
So now all of a sudden you're getting deal flow from particular places that you didn't anticipate it. Why? Because you want them to succeed, but you also don't want them to get stuck. And they know, okay, well, look, why don't you come in and help me with this deal or that deal, whether it be help sourcing money, putting some of your capital in, helping me figure out what's going on with this particular contractor, whatever it is. And then you take your little piece out of the deal. So now I'm not working as hard looking for sources and deal flow. You see what I mean? By myself, I have recommendations and I have people bringing sometimes deal flow to me.
I love it. You're coaching, you're partnering, and you get a piece of the deal and helping close more deals. And sometimes they do it themselves. Sometimes they bring you in. Sometimes it's both, and it's a win-win for everybody. I love it. I love it. I love it. And so, so you're in Jersey right now, right? So are you seeing the flight from New York and Jersey to places like Florida? How real is that? What's your take on that? And give us the boots on the ground. What's going on?
Yeah, I'm seeing it. But I'm also seeing them coming back, people coming back to New Jersey, people coming back to New York. I've been in Florida 10 years. This happened, that happened. Now I'm moving back. Why? Because Florida is being super saturated. One of the biggest problems in Florida right now is the fact that the affordable real estate that you used to be able to afford a couple of years ago now, you cannot. Okay, they're being bought out. They're being turned into townhouses, big complex, big apartment buildings. And even though the land is cheap, because I was looking in Florida a couple years and I have a partner in Florida, you being able to live there over time doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You get priced out of that entire market, And so that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, it all sounds good. Not just Florida. You have Arizona, you have places like Texas where they're like, oh, well, we're not paying these particular taxes. But I'm telling you, more than 50% of the time, and sometimes even short, it's not 10 years, outside of 3 or 4 years, they move back to New Jersey or they move back to New York, because they're like, yeah, they don't charge you tax for this, but they tax you for everything else. So you're still paying the taxes, whether you look at it that way or not.
Yeah. Yeah. Very well said. Yeah. It's really, really fascinating to see. I'm in California, and we're seeing that, I think for the first time in 100 years, California's population is decreasing and not increasing. And so, and a lot of folks going to Florida, going to Texas, going to Tennessee has been a big one. Nevada, right? So it's interesting, right? And we'll see how long that lasts. You right? Because I had some friends, they moved out of California. I'm like, yeah, we'll see how long. Let's see how long they last over there if they do come back. So, okay, got it. So what about any actual value add deals? Are you finding those and in where you buy? What's the best deal you've done when it comes to kind of real estate?
Oh, the best deal I've done is I bought at 90, 95 and put in 5, 7. Yeah, that was the best deal I've done. I put in 5 to 7 and I'm still holding it. So it's a duplex that's about 105, 107, somewhere around there. And it's cash flowing $1,600 a month.
That's sweet. So it was it's worth about 105, it's cash flowing 1,600, and you put in about 5 to 7,000, as you said, or?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that being said, are you ready for the lightning round?
Sure, absolutely. Let's go.
All right. So knowing what you know now, George, if you go back to your 25-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget you'd make sure to tell yourself to do?
Relax, pay attention, and learn.
Beautiful. I love that. What's the biggest frustration when it comes to capital gains tax deferral and or the 1031 exchange?
I don't know that much about it. I do know that when I did some research on it, it was just almost like jumping through hoops to get some information about 1031s and even investing. At some point in time, I spoke to a gentleman probably 14 months ago, and he was saying that there is some investment opportunities with people who have their money in either tax deferred holdings or 1031s, where they're now investing into real estate, leveraging what they have and investing into real estate because they're getting better gains and better yields. And, it was like almost every company that I researched that had 1031s, I was like, look, we have projects we're working on in Jersey, Philadelphia, we need some capital. This is what we're paying, so forth and so on. We're in here, we're out here. These are all the numbers. And some of these guys didn't even return my emails. So I was just like, oh, this is crazy. Let me just stop focusing on that to continue what I'm doing. And I'll come back to that a little bit later.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? There's a lot of there can be a lot of groups out there doing the 1031 exchanges. The question is the inventory. Does it look good, right? Does the deal make sense? Where, especially if you look at the Delaware 1031s, they package the deals, but it can be pretty low returns, not a lot of value add upside, and pretty high fees. And it can be a challenge. We do have a backup plan, an alternative called a Deferred Sales Trust. Folks can learn more about that by going to Capital Gains Tax Solutions, where you no longer need to do a 1031 exchange, and it works for primary homes, cryptocurrency, and other assets like that. That being said, George, next question is this: what's the one book you recommend or have gifted the most in the past year?
In the past year, I really haven't, quite honestly, because I was completing my books. That was really my focus, was completing my books. I had one book on the shelf, my fitness training manual, resistance training. It was on the shelf for like 15 years. And when I say that, I'm not saying that I forgot about it. I knew it was there, but life happened, wife, kids, work, jobs, everything else. And I just put it on the shelf. And my second book about property management, it was actually my sister that told me, you need to write a book. And I'm like, I'm not writing any book, thinking about my other resistance training book that was taking me so long. But she just kept and kept and kept. And when COVID happened and when I lost my last deal in April, the Lord just said, what about all them books you've been writing and stuff? When are you going to do those? And so I really just focused my time on completing those and getting those done. So I know it's a lightning round, but that was just a short answer.
That's cool. Why don't you plug the books though? Yeah. So what are the main books? So we have them.
We have Property Management Basics for the part-time landlord. We have Resistance Training for, oh my goodness, Resistance Training. It's there for MMA and martial artists and things of that nature because I'm a martial artist myself. Forgive me about the titles. The titles that I have in my mind were my titles, and then the editor came and said these titles would sound better. So that's why I'm tripping that up. We have.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. So what's the one biggest tip for the martial artist who for someone who's not a martial artist? What's the number one reason a real estate investor and or a teenager, why go into martial artists?
Peace of mind. Absolutely peace of mind. Okay, you don't understand the stress and the strain of what it was like to walk into an apartment after you see they leave. Like, you're going to walk into a bad situation when you find your keys in your mailbox. Like you've requested, let's do the walkthrough so you get your security deposit back, complete crickets, right? Look into the mailbox, those are the keys. You walk in there, bang, $7,000 worth of damage, right? So you need a peace of mind to be able to relax. You need an outlet, because my first instinct is to find them, and beat the brakes off them. You see what I mean? But you can't actually do that in real life, even though people are like, I know where they live now. No, you can't even go to where they live. You have to go through the entire process of recovering your funds so you can recover your funds and not put yourself in a very compromising situation, even though even though you feel in your heart that you're right to be able to do that. And the second thing is, you got somebody living in your apartment that refuses to pay you rent and just says, okay, go ahead and evict me. So you see what I mean? So you need a peace of mind to be able to breathe, understand, and get that stress out so it doesn't become detrimental to you, your family. Now all of a sudden you're making bad business decisions because you're mad about this particular thing here, and that's what martial arts, every time I've gotten into situations, martial arts have brought me back to my center, because that's the only thing that gives me peace. I've been training for over 30 years and teaching for over 20. So that's what I use. That's exactly what I use. I don't meditate. I don't do anything. When it's time to hit a bag or kick a bag, that's exactly what I use.
I love it. I absolutely love it. The peace of mind. Yeah. For me, I think I would say the closest to that is basketball, So growing up, I was playing basketball. I love coaching basketball. And it's the one thing if I could do the rest of my life, I do it every day if my knees didn't fall off. And it's even just shooting, just shooting and just getting out there by myself and shooting. But the best is the competition, right? When you get a group of guys and you go for a couple hours and you're competing, and you're right. You're hitting something, you're boxing out something, you're doing something where you're taking that focused energy in a disciplined way, and you're letting that stress out. And it's been tough because this whole last year, the COVID is, we basically shut everything down. So we play outside a little bit here and there, but it's been like brutal. We used to play like at least twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. And now it's just getting back open again. But I love sport, and I love the idea of peace of mind through martial arts or basketball. So very cool. All right, next question. What are you most curious about right now?
What am I most curious about? Cryptocurrency.
Tell us more. Yeah, tell us more.
Well, I was like everybody else. I didn't understand enough. You look at Bitcoin at over $50,000 a coin, and you're like, I can't afford that. What is Bitcoin? You really think that this digital money that everybody's looking at is going to outpace actual cash? And as you're sitting there, and I said, I was looking and kept watching, it actually is, when it comes to values, because, you have to understand the market and where it's going and what they're particularly doing. But here's the thing that got me interested. When you start seeing institutional money flow into cryptocurrency, now it's time to pay attention, because they understand that this is a money-making opportunity and potential. So you have to spend your time now to do your research, find out the difference between what's actually used for currencies, what's DeFi's. Big thing right now are NFTs. You have to understand all of that, because yes, you're investing into the currency first, but there's also a project behind that, And that's the thing really that's piqued my interest, because in real estate, you're looking for 10, 20, sometimes 30% gains at best. You see what I mean? After you hit your break-even point. But in cryptocurrency, depending on some of the projects that you're in, you're doing 30, 40% gains, 200x, depending on what you're getting into. And sometimes you even see 1,000x in 12 months. You see what I mean? Or shorter. And you're like, well, how can you make 1,000x on your money? And so, that's what really caught my attention, because now at 47, it's not about working harder. It's about working smarter and making sure your money works for you and not you work for your money.
Beautiful. Love it. Yeah, that's very interesting. I've dabbled a little bit in crypto, and I have some more and more clients that are asking, can we invest in crypto with the Deferred Sales Trust? And I'm like, well, we're not quite there yet. I hope to get there at some point, but it's a very interesting and investment and opportunity. So let's see. Second to last question. What's your favorite leadership quote or theme that you strive to live by?
Don't wait for opportunity. Create it. I forgot the person that quoted. It was anonymous when I saw it, but as soon as I saw it, I took it. I took it. I live by that. Don't wait for opportunity. Create it.
Beautiful. Love it. And last question is this. So after all of your success, George, and after all the people you've helped and the deals you've done and the investments you've made, how do you stay centered in your values, and how do you stay encouraged to charge forward to reach for new goals?
Oh, my wife and my kids. My wife and my kids. I do all this for them every day. Every day. I'm looking for quality of life for myself, my wife. Don't tell her this. Like, she may not see this program, but I plan on retiring her in the next 3 to 4 years. She's worked hard. She really struggled as an essential worker here in New Jersey through this whole COVID thing. And the stress just really got to her. Being in that industry, she works in an assisted living facility. So just, not to put anything else on it, because I know California has seen it, New York has seen it, but just imagine that you have patients and clients that you're working with. And maybe sometimes you get a death in the facility, once a month, twice a month. Now, during COVID, you're seeing 25 to 30 of those a month. It can be very stressful. So I just appreciate her. I appreciate all the support that she's done, everything. And I just, I want to put us in a particular situation where we can start living life and enjoying life, as opposed to just passing through life and catching a little glimpse of it.
I'm
So
with
yeah,
you, George.
that's my goal.
Beautiful. I love it. It's a great goal. And I want to thank you for being on the show, sharing a bit about your story, giving us some solid wisdom here on so many things and different topics. I want to encourage you to keep using your gift of giving it forward and blessing others, and then martial arts too. If I ever get to Jersey, maybe I'll get in there and you can teach me something,
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's what I love to do.
Yeah. So that being said, George, could you remind our listeners one last time where they can find you?
Absolutely. For information about me, you can go to georgeboleyjr.com. That's G as in George, B as in Boyle, Leyjr, all one word.com.
Excellent. Well, George, thanks for being on the show. And I also want to thank our listeners for listening to that episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast. As always, we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy, such as the Deferred Sales Trust, is the best way for you to exit your cryptocurrency, real estate, high-end primary home, and defer the tax. You can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to learn more about that. That's capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. Also, we're streaming live on Expert CRE Secrets, okay? And so we're helping brokers and syndicators and realtors and luxury realtors learn more about investing and also about tax deferral. So also check us out there on YouTube and iTunes as well. Thanks everybody for listening to the show. We appreciate you. Bye now.